What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Uberkooledgarage. On this week's episode, we're going to continue with Ryan's Ghia. Got some cool bits and pieces to show you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy. It's a little tutorial-ish, but not really. But we're starting to get work done on the car, getting the motor back in, starting to set everything up, find some issues that we're going to have to work out here pretty quick, figure out what exactly we're going to do with those, and then we're going to start hopping into some of the smaller projects and start knocking them out. So everything's getting nice and pretty. Thank you guys so much for the support. You guys are awesome. It's still trying to build the channel as well as I can. Tutorial videos and stuff was one of the things that you guys suggested. So I'm going to start working on some different aspects of that. Try and teach you guys how to build your own stuff. Carbon fiber, wiring harnesses. If you guys have any suggestions on what you want to see, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you guys can subscribe, please subscribe. That would be awesome. And hope you guys enjoy this video. Well, you can see I got the passenger side rear window completely removed. Went ahead and pulled the window all the way apart. So there's the window rubber. There is that window rubber. And then this is the chrome trim that the window holds in. It's just kind of glued in there. So heat gun, that came right out. So this rubber actually slides over top of this rubber. I got the window mechanism out for the latch. So what is going on here is I have a sheet of plexi that I will polish up and get all good. And then this is going inside of that window. So the window will still be functionable. The duct, the NACA duct, will sit somewhere in here. I haven't quite decided on location yet, but it'll sit somewhere right here. And that goes into the inline filter, and then that will run over into the intake. So kind of a really cool system. It'll work out really, really well. We'll obviously save this glass. That way, if he ever wants to take it out, he can just slide it back in. A little bit more glue, but that will be pretty cool. So as soon as we get this engine back in the car, I can start routing that. I'm going to end up making a section right here that comes off of this. Basically probably just a plate like this with a hole in it. And this intake tube will slide into it. It'll have a rubber grommet all the way around it. And then when I build the firewall will bolt to the outside of it. So you can remove the firewall without taking out the intake pipe. That way you can remove the intake pipe when you pull the firewall section out. It'll work out really good. The filter itself will be completely removable and cleanable whenever you need to. All it is 2 clips, and that should slide right out. Okay, so went ahead and pulled the piece of plexi out of storage. The table underneath is super dirty. I already wiped down the plexi, so it's pretty clean. It's not perfect, but I haven't done anything to like clean it up. I just sprayed it with water and wiped it down. So I will end up probably polishing it, see if I can get any kind of imperfections out of it. But I'm going to probably use the cleanest piece on here. This is the same exact thickness as the glass. So I have the glass right here. I'll end up tracing all of this out, even the hole, and drilling or cutting all of this out. And then I'll place the duct somewhere in the window wherever it fits best. I'll trace that out, and then I'll cut that out as well. And then I'm gonna try and utilize the plexi as a stock window. I'm gonna try and keep the pop out. So maybe I won't drill the pop out hole just yet, just to see, make sure that everything still functions. If it doesn't function the way that it should, then I will probably just rivet the Lexan or the plexi into the actual car. That way it stays there, doesn't move. And then I will probably paint a black border around just to clean everything up. I'll silicone, or not silicone, I'll probably window bond in the window. So let's go ahead and get this traced and cut and see how it turns out. Well, sorry guys, looks like the cutout of this did not film, but I went ahead and cut it out. It's still all rough. Just ended up using a very thin blade on the grinder. It all cut out super nice and easy. It leaves these like plastic chunks all the way around. So snap those off, take a razor blade, and just razor blade along the edges. Now I'm going to take a flat block and some sandpaper, sand all the way around the edges, make sure that everything's flat and smooth all the way around. And then we'll get the duct and set that in there on the underside. That way we can trace out where we would like the hole to go. And then we'll get that in there, riveted in. I'm probably going to epoxy that piece in there. That way it stays nice and solid and will be sealed from the elements. That way the water doesn't get in the car. And then we'll pop it in and see exactly what we have going on, whether I need to rivet it in or it can function as a stock window. Got the window all finished up. It turned out absolutely awesome. Really like it. So This is going to be the intake for the engine. One of the best parts about it, I still have to clean it up a little bit, maybe do a little bit more polishing, but if we come back here and pop the window open, still holds the stock pop out, works out good. Closing it, it's still a little tight, so it closes, and then you just gotta kind of push on the back. That way it's tucked up inside the rubber. That way it keeps it nice and sealed up. But other than that, it looks awesome. So this flex hose right here will go to the actual duct, and then the duct will go into this carbon fiber inline air filter, and then it'll go back into the engine. So worked out really good. Really liked the design. Gives the car kind of a cool race car touch. So we will finish up the intake, and you guys might be wondering why the engine's not in yet. I had to, so for the throwout bearing, this is a little bit different style than the one that originally came on it. So it is the correct throwout bearing, it's just a different style. The one that was on it was a JDM. This is an American US standard Subaru throwout bearing. So I had to order the clips. The clips should be here tomorrow. So as soon as those clips get in there, I'll put the throwout bearing on. We can get the motor on the trans, get the engine and trans back in the car, and then we'll start doing all of our plumbing and electrical and all that. So doing small stuff in the meantime to push us ahead. So we'll keep pushing and wait for some parts. Got the clips that I needed. So clutch clips. It's pretty crazy because that says 1990 to 2017, same exact clips. So these are US clips. JDM ones, throwout bearings are a little bit different. So let's go ahead and get these thrown on there, and then we will go ahead and get this motor back in the car and start tagging everything into it. The engine is back in the car, so everything's all bolted up. Worked out really good. It looks like there might be a couple things that I have to address. I think the engine is sitting a little too low, so I might have to put a spacer or two in between the engine mount and the motor mounts, just because the transmission is slightly rubbing on the actual mount. So I'll dig into that a little bit more to see. Another major issue that we have at the moment is these axles are too long. So I can't get this up high enough to bolt in because it starts binding the axle. So Might have to order new axles. Now that everything's in, I can actually unbolt the axle. I'll take measurements, see how long of an axle that we need, and then we'll go from there. The intake comes in, comes down, and of course it is super dark back there. But I have the intake basically done. The only thing that I have to do is create that piece right here that bolts in, that the pipe actually slides through, to hold that in place, and then the firewall will bolt in around it and get hose clamps. So other than that, the intake system is basically done. So now that the engine's in, we'll figure out the axle thing and figure out the motor mount thing, and then we'll go ahead and start plumbing up the entire fuel system, get that all completely done, and then we'll start trying to figure out what we need for the radiator system to work. So, progress. It's getting there. Definitely quite a bit of work to get everything situated in this car, but it should be really, really cool when it's done. I got a new one for you guys. Something that I've never seen before. So I have not seen one of these in a Ghia yet, but kind of cool. Charcoal canister for venting. But that's not even the good part. Pull up the fuel tank. Yeah, you know, it's dirty. I'm gonna vacuum out the engine bay here in a sec. That's a zip tie on the fuel line. That's a zip tie too. And as you can tell, everything under here is wet. So, it's obviously been slowly leaking for who knows how long. This is probably some of the worst smelling fuel that I've ever smelt in my life. It is very, very, very potent. Luckily there's only a tiny bit in the actual gas can, so what I'll end up doing is draining out the old gross fuel, probably swishing around a little bit of newer fuel in it, flush that out, and clean it up as best as I can. Hopefully there's not too much stuff in the actual tank. I do, with the swap kit that I kind of came up with, it removes that bottom fitting on the fuel tank and gets rid of the stock filter that's in there too. So it gets rid of all that stuff, and then I run two filters, one prior to the fuel pump and one after the fuel pump. That way it just filters out everything that it possibly can. So let's go ahead and finish cleaning up this engine bay. There's a lot of dirt, rust, paint chips, you name it, it's in here. Leaves, spider webs, all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna go through, clean all this stuff out, and then we'll start looking at digging into the fuel system, get the radiator probably mounted, and start getting all this stuff set up. And I believe I talked to Ryan. We are going to do the brakes on this as well. We'll finish off the brakes for him, run all the lines, probably a new master cylinder, and we'll probably go from there, see what else we need. But let's keep cleaning. So, went through with wire brush. Just brushed basically everything off. Popped up a lot of the rusty paint that was flaking off. That way nothing's really flaking anymore. Also pulled up quite a bit of the dust and everything. But everything's all wiped down. Probably gonna sand some of this a little bit, maybe take a wire brush on the drill, clean up a lot of this, smooth it all out. What I'm going to do is everything underneath is pretty clean, so I'm probably going to, I'll paint all of this. Back here, I'll paint the steering column. It looks like same thing as Zach's car. He's probably gonna need a new steering bushing. This one's pretty torn up, so also go ahead and I'll clean up all of the steering rods, get all those cleaned up. The master cylinder, I went ahead and unbolted everything from it. I still have the rear line to unbolt, and then I'll unbolt it from the car. And I think we talked about he wanted to order a new one, which is good because he's got very large disc brakes all the way around this car, and that little stock dinky thing is not going to handle them. So we'll be ordering a new master cylinder. So I'm going to paint all of this all the way around, and then I will sand up a lot of the dirt and stuff on the frame horn here. I'll probably just do undercoating on that, get that all undercoated, clean up all the steering arms, probably paint those as well. And I might even talk to him and see if he wants me to paint the front beam while I'm in here. It's not going to be perfect, but at least it'll clean it up, because it's pretty dirty. So we'll go ahead and clean up all this stuff, get this painted, and then we can start installing the fuel pump, filters, and fuel lines. Oh, that looks about 100 times better. So everything's all painted. Once that's dried up, I will go ahead and undercoat all of the frame horn. But it turned out really good. Looks really good, nice, clean, simple. So we'll paint up the frame horn and start running some fuel lines. Alright guys, so that's all I have for you on this week. Was hoping to kind of get further along, but I've been working out of town. It's kind of a long drive to get there. So I'm driving back and forth. I'm not staying out of town, which is awesome and very helpful. But it is a long drive, so I don't get home until later. And I got to spend time with my wife and daughter. And then I come out and work on the cars at night. So didn't get as much time as I wanted to on both of the cars actually this week. But hopefully things start. This job that I'm on now is just about wrapped up. So hopefully the next one's close to town and I can start jamming a little bit harder on both of these cars. So we're just going to continue on Ryan's car. I have small progress stuff on the bug that I am not quite a full video yet, but it is coming, I promise. The first drive is definitely coming shortly. I have brake issues and clutch issues on the bug, but I'm digging into the wiring a little bit more, and I got some really cool stuff to show you with that. So until the next episode, peace out, guys.